Since I normally spring ideas for videos on Isabel, so Isabel never knows like what we're doing, and I don't even know if she knows a lot about Brian De Palma. Do you?
I'm getting into him recently, actually. I historically really like Carrie. Um, and I like the first Mission Impossible. I watched that again for the first time in ages lately. Snake Eyes is good.
So you have some thoughts on some of these, so we can run through this. This isn't going to be a long ranking. This is going to be
Yeah,
like the Kubrick one last time. I'm going to run through these because Brian De Palma is one of my favorite directors. I'm going to run through it. Murder a la Mode, his first like a proper thriller, is properly in the C category. Because I mean, I don't like it. It's very amateurish, but my God, some of those visuals are outrageous. He's still an outrageous visual stylist, as he likes to call himself, more than a director. He's fantastic. And
I
then I
love
think,
Blowout.
yeah, we could both blow out. I think that
I
Brian De
watched it
Palma has
recently
four. You watched it recently?
for
It's
the
your
first
movie.
time, and it was the first time where I'm like, oh, I get it. Like
Oh, it's so good.
I get why people like De Palma so much. That was what inspired me to like revisit other movies of his I've seen.
It's
It's
so good.
perfect.
Like
It's so
he,
good.
I've never seen a director like manhandle cinema isn't the right way to put it, but I've never seen a director just take cinema and like just cut it, so form it, shape it like fucking putty. When De Palma is on fire, when he's on top of his game, there are almost no limitations uh, with what he can show, and now and also like no end to the kind of statements that he's making within his art. I think what makes Brian De Palma so interesting is that his sequences like are in constant visual dialogue with each other. He loves to do split screens, and those split screens are about different narratives or images or visuals actually dialoguing, an open dialogue between visuals. It's so fascinating to me. I think he's one of them. I think there's a lot of untapped crit and analyses like of De Palma, some really serious analyses that's untapped that I hope to pursue in some capacity later on. So like I said, Brian De Palma has 4 S tier movies, and Body Double might be his very best film. It's so beautiful. It's a perverse Dark Mirror universe version of Vertigo, but it's also so much more than that. I think he's making some rather harrowing statements about cinema itself within that movie. If you have an opinion on any of these movies, just cut me
I,
off when
I've
we
only
get to
seen
them.
Blowout of these. I've seen very little De Palma. I literally told you all the ones I've seen.
Well, just to show everyone that I am harsh on De Palma, I mean, Bonfire of the Vanities is one of the most
Oh, that's
infamous
my
Hollywood
favorite one.
flops. It's one of
My
the most
favorite.
infamous Hollywood flops of all time.
It's my favorite
It's
movie.
it I think it almost ended De Palma's career. It was the punchline of so many jokes when it came out. It was terrible. There's some cool visuals there, but my God, De Palma, De Palma, De Palma. Here's the thing: when he misfires, he fucking kamikazes. Like he goes for it. Blowout is sick. Blowout's awesome. Blowout is really cool. I love unpacking Body Double. So well conceived, like immaculately conceived. The relax, don't do it sequence. My God, what the fuck? Like it's so fucking phenomenal. Like talking about Brian De Palma makes me excited. Raising Cain, where he starts to rip off himself. I'm gonna put at the top of the C tier. That's probably his most self-reflexive or self-referential movie. It's got its charms, and it's got a certain amount of interesting qualities to it, but overall it's low mid De Palma, whereas Carlito's Way I think is a B. He was a pretty good gangster film director. I mean, he got some good Sean Penn and fucking Al Pacino and John Leguizamo performances in that. It's very good. And now we're at Carrie, another S tier. I think it's right behind Body Double, but above Blowout. It's incredible. I think what truly separates it, or what makes it kind of unique in De Palma's catalog, is that it's probably the best performance in a De Palma movie, because Sissy Spacek is so authentic and so sad and pitiful and scary and petrifying. You don't normally get to talk about an actor being authentic within a Brian De Palma movie, so that's very unique there. And I watched it today, and I actually cried at one part, like when she goes to the prom and like Tommy's being like genuinely nice to her and even kisses her. Like I cried. I was like, fuck, man. It's so tragic, and I think it's a really interesting adaptation of King's work. I really do. What do you think of Carrie, Isabel?
Great movie. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember really being moved by the agony of it when I originally
It's
saw it.
so agonizing. It's like that's what I think that's what I was crying about because I'm like because you know what's gonna happen and it's the hopefulness of it all, and it's what makes it one of the best teen movies I've ever seen because like she's punished for being hopeful in the face of religious abuse and also abuse from her peers, romantic abuse, social abuse, and then punished for it. So then she has to punish them. But yeah, I'm glad it makes you emotional as well. Moonlight Orange, and I think that's why it's at S. If not, and if it might even be better than Body Double in a few certain ways, because I wouldn't call De Palma a very emotional director. Someone in the chat said that he was a cold director the other day, colder than Kubrick, and like, of course, I agree. So if we can talk about being emotional within a Brian De Palma movie, that's really special. I think the ending of Blowout's pretty emotional as well, and I think it was emotional for De Palma, considering that Nancy Allen was his wife for quite a long time. Next up, we have Casualties of War. I'm going to put in the A section. An excellent Brian De Palma Vietnam movie. It's pretty terrifying. The Black Dahlia goes in D. I walked out of this movie, and Brian De Palma is still my favorite director. Is my favorite director. Then I walked out of it. I thought it was a terrible noir. Same with Domino at the very end. Domino, when De Palma fell off, he hit his face on the concrete and bled everywhere. Dressed to Kill. Have you seen this one, Isabel?
I want to.
I like it more than most. I'm going to put it at the top of the A tier. I know it's problematic. I know it's kind of weird, but I think it's also very beautiful and transgressive. Femme Fatale at the top of the A tier as well. Very underrated. Antonio Banderas and Rebecca Romaine are incredible in the movie. And like I said, that dialogue of visuals is happening nonstop in that movie. His visuals are out of control. They're so good. We have to do an analysis and figure out what the visuals are actually saying to each other. The jump scare at the end for Carrie, yeah, yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I feel like one of you brought up similarities between Polanski and De Palma. If so, can you expand? Yeah, that was me. I did that. Similarities in the sense that they are both arguably Hitchcock's greatest pupils, his greatest students, and I think they both took the language of Hitchcock and complicated it in different ways and in very unique ways. Um, that's about the similarity, and also they're both extremely perverse directors. Brian De Palma is not a horrible human being or anything like that, but he's definitely a perverse one. And Roman Polanski, we obviously know, has a lot of perversities,
He does?
but mostly it's the fact that they are students of Hitchcock, and they both went on and showed that they learned lessons from him in different ways, and they both built on the language and transcended it in their own incredible ways. Really, that's about it for that. You just pop through here. The Fury. The
I know
Fury.
that Godard kind of liked this.
The Fury.
I'm reading a book of this lecture series he did in Montreal back around the time it came out, and he talks about how he went to see it the other day in theaters. He's like, "Oh, it's pretty all right, pretty
That's
good."
cool. That's
De Palma's
cool.
an interesting guy.
It's definitely mid De Palma. What's one of the coolest things about The Fury, and I want to read about the making of it because I would love to be a fly on the wall. Here's another similarity between Polanski and De Palma. The Fury stars John Cassavetes, and I would like to know how Brian and John got along because notoriously, infamously, John did not get along at all with Roman and pegged him as a fucking weirdo right away. What was the thing? We've made fun of Roman about this before. Like John,
Oh, are you talking about where Cassavetes made fun of him?
yeah,
Yeah. There, I forget exactly what it was, but Polanski made some like vague comment about like the nature of women or something, and Cassavetes was like, "You know nothing of women."
Yeah. It was also like Roman was saying that no man could be faithful as well.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah, and that's
marriages will
why.
never
And
work because no man could be faithful. And Don Cassavetes was like, you know what I want to do? I want to fuck my wife more than anything
yeah,
in the world. I
and
love fucking my wife. He's a wife
I
guy. He's the biggest wife guy in the world.
I've really become Cassavetes pill recently. Woman
Cassavetes
Under
is
the Influence is like
amazing.
the perfect movie, but
I wouldn't mind doing a ranking of him sometime. Those are some bangers there. Oh my God, Cassavetes is great. But
yeah,
Polanski
he's
fired back in interviews when he was asked about Cassavetes' films, and he called them home
yep.
movies. He did not call. He said they're not actual cinema. So they had a pretty seething hatred of each other.
Roman said that long-term monogamy is impossible, and so Cassavetes said, "You know nothing of women."
You know nothing of women. I love my wife, but he's very good in The Fury. The Fury is mid to Palma. Yeah, great Cassavetes performance though.
I didn't even know he was
Greetings
in it,
goes in D. For a minute there, Isabel, I think that De Palma thought he was America's Jean-Luc Godard for a minute.
and he might be
Um,
right.
he made like really weird. Distributors tried to call them comedies, but they were insane political, fucking anarchic, dreamlike movies, all starring Robert De Niro, and they're all fucking weird. Hi Mom is the best one of them, and we'll get to that one in a
That's funny you
minute.
mention that because around that time, Godard was trying to get De Niro for a movie, but it fell through.
Because of De Palma.
No, but like it was around the time he was watching De Palma, and he
Okay.
was also trying to cast De Niro.
What do you think of the first Mission Impossible?
It's rad. Um,
It is rad.
it feels like a completely different series from the Macquarie era, so it's hard to compare them. My favorite is two, because of course it is.
John Woo
But
is awesome.
I love two. I think it's so crazy and fun and awesome. But one is really good. One is like a really compact, really interesting thriller. It feels like a different universe from the other movies.
There's some
But
beautiful parts of that, like when in the beginning.
opening credits for a TV show, except all the characters in that show immediately died.
Yeah, like the botched job that they're doing, and like there's this beautiful part that's pure De Palma of like John Voight covered in blood, like
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
in
it's so
slow mo
good.
or something, and it's like oh God, that's gorgeous. Don't know why Tom Cruise wanted Brian De Palma for the first one. That seems like a weird get, but I think he made it really visually stunning. Honestly,
I
John Woo, I think Mission Impossible 2 is the best one as well. I also have a
Oh,
soft spot for
really?
like
I thought you would have railed on me
no,
for that.
no, just for Tandy Newton alone, Mission Impossible 2 is the best. But
Speak
also John Woo is so cool and the motorcycles and all that. That's fun.
There's an amazing shot in two where it's just the framing of the shot is like a giant pair of boobs in the corner and Tom Cruise grinning at them. And that's like the first time I've ever believed he has the capacity for sexual attraction towards another human being, female or otherwise.
And
But
then, and of course you get John Woo's doves coming out to
my
show you that Ethan Hunt is Jesus.
My favorite part is him kicking the dirt so the gun shoots up into the air and he turns and spins
Yeah.
and shoots. It's my favorite, one of my favorite movie moments of all time. But anyway, one is I've seen people describe one as seeming like De Palma just doing a highlights reel, kind of like
Yeah.
autopilot, but it's just like even De Palma doing autopilot is like incredible.
I heard it was difficult to communicate with. Like Tom Cruise could not communicate with De Palma. Like De Palma was kind of cut off to Tom Cruise's input, and I think that's one of the reasons why he wasn't asked to come back.
Fair enough, but I think it works. I think he fits the material for that one, but I don't think he would have fit the material for what was come with that series.
No. Well, I think until J.J. Abrams, that series didn't know what it wanted to be like.
Well, I kind of liked the revolving door of directors approach, which is why it's kind of a bummer that it's just become the Macquarie Cruise show. But I also feel like that works because it's now like a completely different series. It's just a series in which Tom Cruise himself is the auteur, and so it doesn't really
It's
work
true.
to have anyone else attempt to be a director for it. But anyway, Mission to Mars,
I cannot in good conscience put it anywhere
really.
above D. Like as you see,
I've heard some good things about it, but I've never seen it.
there's some really cool sequences, all right? It's one of the dumbest movies I've ever seen. Let me remind you, Brian De Palma is like one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. And looking at this tier, it might not look like it, but he he was not afraid to, like I say, just fucking go for it at full speed. And even when he flopped, it was wild. Mission to Mars, there are a lot of cool visuals, especially in the beginning at like a party. There's this like endless shot. It's really good. Hi Mom, I'm actually going to put at the top of the C category. That's from his like I'll call it wannabe Godard period, which isn't very good, but Hi Mom is the best of that period. It's fucking so weird. Hi Mom is one of the weirdest fucking movies I've ever seen, but it's pulled off not that well, but I like it. I'm trying to compliment it
Respect.
and I really can't. Robert De Niro is a little firecracker in that movie. It's fun. Obsession, I'm also going to put at the top of C. It's one of his lesser thrillers. It's one of his most deliberate thrillers as well. There's a slowness to it that is not usually available within De Palma. I think it was a little too slow for De Palma, but I think that was deliberate. I think he was testing out, he was experimenting with different kinds of pacing. Passion, Numi Rapace and Rachel McAdams. I think it's the best of his late career movies, which isn't to say it's very good, but it has a lot of interesting things in it. I'm not a huge fan of Passion, but it's better than like Redacted or Domino. Phantom of the Paradise, another A tier movie, very top of the A tier. My God, it is so much fun with Paul Williams and Jessica Harper from Suspiria is incredible in it as Phoenix. A beautiful musical. It's like uh, it's like a blood-soaked Beach Boys. It's pretty incredible. It's like Pet Sounds for goth kids. It's so good. I love that movie. I have not seen Get to Know Your Rabbit. All right, I was looking that up today. It apparently is all available on YouTube, but I refuse to believe that Get to Know Your Rabbit is a real movie. Never gonna watch it. Redacted is probably the worst Brian De Palma movie. But when he fell off, when he fell out of touch, he fell off completely. I love Scarface. It's going up to the S tier. I think it's a classic gangster movie. I think it's an excellent critique of capitalism, and I love the pairing of Oliver Stone writing it and De Palma directing it. It is like the most fanatical, fucking eccentric, and bizarre critique of capitalism you could ever see. It's such a bizarre critique of capitalism that you might even think that it's starting to believe in itself. By the end of the movie, it might forget what it's critiquing. It's fun. It's so cool and weird and interesting and a lot of great visuals. What do you think of Scarface?
I haven't seen it.
What? What though? Come on,
No,
that's
I haven't.
thought everyone
I
saw
told you. I told
Scarface.
you every single movie of his I've seen.
I know. Okay. We'll move forward with it. I have a video on Scarface, I believe, that's still available on the channel. I love the
I'll
movie to
watch it
death.
soon. I'll get the further De Palma pilled for you.
And I put Sisters directly up in the A tier. Margot
Yeah,
Kidder's
I
incredible in the
know.
film.
Sorry, I'm talking to the chat. Yeah, I know.
Shame her. Shame her, chat.
I know.
You need to watch Scarface.
I'm only one person.
Sisters is an excellent De Palma thriller. Probably De Palma's first excellent thriller. It's gorgeous. The use of split screen in there, I think, is probably his best. Him at his best, outside of Carrie, with the split screen usage. Snake Eyes, I'm gonna put at the end of C, not because it's good,
Fair.
not because it's interesting, but only for maybe the first 8 to 10 minutes. It has my favorite Steadicam shot in the history of cinema with Nick Cage going around the boxing arena,
Yeah.
like it is immaculately choreographed and composed, and it's just for that one scene. But I'm high. I'm high on cinema when that one scene happens. I'm high on the fumes of cinema.
I think
I
it's a
mean, it's
pretty
not
good
good.
movie.
Do you like it?
I like it. I thought it was really good. I find the kind of the fact that it stops being a mystery movie kind of
Yeah.
isn't the coolest, but I think what it becomes is still a pretty well done thriller, and I love Nick Cage in general.
I think it's one of
And
the best intros. That first shot, right?
I
Like,
will say the first half it starts strong and it doesn't quite
yeah.
live up to that hype, but I still think it's very good.
Yeah, I might not be being as kind to it as I should be because there were a lot of
I
cool
agree.
beats. A lot of cool beats.
Like that
And
overhead shot of the hotel rooms, like that shit
yes,
is
oh my
tight as
God, yeah,
fuck.
when it goes to Carla Gugino, like washing the
Yeah.
blood off her clothes, like,
Yeah, that
yeah,
shit is
that's really
great.
good. That's really good. You're right. Maybe I should just watch it again, and I might think it's a little bit better, but it probably won't make it above B, but just for the opening, it's a B. Like, that's an incredible opener. And we only got 3 more, ladies and gentlemen. The Untouchables, I think, is going above Casualties of War on the A tier. I know it's a little hokey. I know it's a little goofy, and it's pretty simplistic view of good and evil. But I think it's an excellent tale of good and evil. A great gangster movie again by Brian De Palma. The Wedding Party goes anywhere on the D tier. It doesn't really
S
matter.
tier.
That's his fucking wannabe Godard phase again. And then Wise Guys goes in the D tier. But I swear to God, this is one of my favorite directors. Look, 4 movies in the S tier. Look at that. I think everything C and up is at least interesting to engage with and to discuss. I think that Brian De Palma is a fascinating director with a psychology that hasn't necessarily been penetrated by a lot of cinephiles or film critics out there. I think he's really interesting.
I'm currently going insane, so I'm so hormonal right now. I just tasted
What?
something. I
That's your
I'm
apology 2.5 hours later is I'm
I'm
sorry for
so
saying that you're a
sorry.
racist, but I'm hormonal.
To be fair, every time someone references Japanese cinema, you're like, oh.